Have you ever wondered why after a long session of Tetris you start seeing falling blocks everywhere in your dreams, in the shapes of clouds, in the tiling of your floor? That's the Tetris Effect, one of the most fascinating intersections of behavior, memory, and perception. It happens when you repeat an activity so intensely that it rewires the way you see the world, even when you're not doing that activity. For example, one study found that people who play Tetris regularly report fewer intrusive cravings or unwanted memories. The visual-spatial load of the game seems to occupy mental resources that would otherwise replay vivid images or desires. Another reported intervention involved people with PTSD. After playing Tetris in the wake of traumatic events, their flashbacks diminished in strength, frequency, and moving from perception to memory. The Mandela Effect is a phenomenon that has caught the public imagination. Large numbers of people remember an event or detail one way, only to discover their memory is factually incorrect. The term comes from people remembering Nelson Mandela's death in prison in the 1980s, though in reality he was released in 1990 and died in 2030. What is compelling are cases where people are very confident in their wrong memories. For instance, many recall the children is a book series as the Berenstain Bears, when in fact it is the Berenstain Bears, or people swear the Monopoly Man has a monocle. A large replication study tested about 40 popular logos and characters, things like C-3PO, Waldo, and found consistent false memories among many people, reaffirming that this isn't just odd casual misremembering but a psychological pattern. Then there is the placebo effect, when people experience a real change in their health or feelings simply because they believe they are getting treatment, even if the treatment is inert. A placebo might look like a sugar pill or a sham procedure, but people's belief in its effectiveness can cause measurable relief for pain, nausea, or subjective symptoms. Researchers have studied this for decades. Some trials have shown meaningful improvements in patient-reported outcomes, especially in areas like anxiety or pain. But it's not always powerful. Many studies show placebo effects are modest, or mainly present when outcomes are subjective rather than objective. Finally, the false limb or phantom limb effect is where amputees continue to feel sensations often painful, sometimes itch-like, or cramping in limbs that no longer exist physically. The brain retains a body map, a representation of limbs and sensory input that persists even after amputation. In one case, a patient found relief when they scratched or massaged another person's limb or a prosthesis, receiving relief only when phantom sensations were active, presumably because their brain temporarily incorporated that foreign limb into its body. Image helping reduce the mismatch between what the body felt and what it knew. Another case involved augmented reality and gaming techniques. A patient who had suffered phantom limb pain for decades experienced substantial pain relief when virtual limbs responding to muscle signals from the stump were used. Over time, the phantom posture relaxed and periods of pain-free sensation grew longer. Also, in adolescence, following amputation, phantom sensations spread gradually and varied in quality and intensity over weeks, showing how the brain's perception changes dynamically after limb loss. What ties all these effects together is the way the brain constructs our reality. Perception, memory, sensation, even pain aren't always direct records of the external world. They are constantly shaped by repetition, belief, environment, and neural connections. The Tetris Effect shows how repetition warps perception. The Mandela Effect, how memory can converge on shared false beliefs. The Placebo Effect, how expectation can influence subjective experience. The Phantom Limb Effect, how the brain maintains body images and sensory experiences beyond physical facts. These phenomena also teach us about human vulnerability and resilience. The same mental mechanisms that cause false memories or phantom pain may also offer opportunities. Treating trauma, reducing suffering, improving mental health. Games like Tetris aren't just entertainment. They can distract, rewire intrusive imagery, provide therapeutic interventions. Belief in healing can itself trigger brain processes that help reduce pain. Mirror therapy, or VR for phantom limbs, suggests that by changing input to the brain, experience of pain or distortion can be relieved. Through hundreds of studies and many case reports, we see how flexible, yet fragile, human consciousness and perception are. Reality, as we experience it, is not simply what exists, but what our brain constructs. And sometimes, what we consciously believe What we repeatedly do, or what we feel deeply, becomes just as real as what is objectively true. Follow new Einsteins for more weird and wonderful science that questions the world you think you know. And don't forget to subscribe, link in the description.